What's up, you guys? Welcome to this video. And in this video, the topic I'm going to be talking about is Disneyland. At the time this video is coming out, it's going on 6 weeks now since Disneyland in Anaheim has been shut down. Disneylands around the world have been shut down, not just the Anaheim one. And obviously the whole world has just gone shut down after the whole COVID thing that's currently going on, and is continuing to go on for at least a few more months. And yeah, it's been an unprecedented time in the park. I never thought in my lifetime I'd see a time when Disneyland was closed for like 6 weeks plus. That's just crazy shit. And for those who don't know, I actually work at Disneyland, so this is having a big impact on me, just obviously not being able to go to work and stuff like that. And so eventually places at like Disneyland are going to open back up, I would guess in like June or something like that. But the question I have is sort of like what sort of changes are going to happen, because it's not just going to be business as usual. Once the park opens back up, they're going to have to sort of make sort of changes to gradually bring people sort of back in and stuff like that. So this video, the topic is going to be the top 5 changes that won't happen at Disneyland to sort of ease people back in once the COVID thing sort of like dies down. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, going in order of least important to most important changes, at number 5, what I'm going to say is that guests are going to be required to wear masks when going into Disneyland and California Adventure. Currently, right now, it's almost against the law to go out in public into like a store or something like that without a mask. You got to wear a mask going into like Walmart, Target, all kind of stores and stuff like that. Otherwise, you'll get in sort of big trouble. And I think even when COVID dies down within the next few months, even in June when I think the park's going to open back up, I think guests are still going to be required to wear masks to sort of prevent the spreading of the virus. Obviously, it's not a perfect solution, but it does make people feel safer, and it does sort of prevent people from giving the virus as long as they're following other guidelines. And I think what Disneyland can even do is sort of sell sort of Disney themed masks, like Mickey ones, Disney princess ones, villain ones. That actually would sound pretty cool. And for each land, like Adventureland, Frontierland, Galaxy's Edge, have sort of like a cast member themed mask. That would actually be pretty damn cool to have masks that sort of fit the cast members in that themed land. So that's number 5, still guests being required to wear a mask. And number 4 is sort of an outside the box solution, but I'm going to suggest that Disneyland limits the amount of rides a guest can go on per day while at Disneyland or California Adventure. The reason for this is that the more rides someone goes on, the more potential they have to sort of spread the germs and the virus if they do have it. So if you limit the amount of rides someone can go on, you limit that potential for them to spread the virus if they do have it. My suggestion would be to sort of limit people to sort of like guests to sort of 5 rides per day. I know that's sort of a brutal thing to say, you can go to Disneyland and only go on sort of 5 rides, but if it's in the best interest of safety and keeping guests safe, I think it's the best way to do it. The way you would do this is have sort of someone at the ride entrance scan your ticket. You get 5 rides per guest, and so yeah, you have to basically use your time wisely while at Disneyland. And number 3, I'm going to say that Disneyland is going to limit the amount of shows that go on during the park per day. As much as some people love going on rides at Disneyland, there are some people that love watching the shows just as much. And Disneyland in California got some great shows. When you're talking about Fantasmic, the parades, World of Color, and obviously the fireworks, just great stuff. The problem with these shows is that it involves people sort of bunched together in groups, touching each other in big groups, and that obviously has the potential to spread a whole lot of germs and the virus, obviously, if someone has it. And another big problem is that these shows happen multiple times per day. So the solution here is to sort of have these shows have only one viewing of the show per day. That way you're limiting the amount of time that people are sort of bunched together in groups, and obviously that's limiting the potential of the virus to spread even more if someone goes to see the show sort of a second time and they're sick or something like that. This has the potential to create sort of the best and sort of safe situation while still being able to have the shows go on during the day. And number 2, I'm going to say that Disneyland is going to enforce strict social distancing rules for guests while they are in line for rides at the park. If you go to any stores right now, Walmart, Target, etc., they're enforcing strict social distancing rules for customers in line, having them only be 6 feet apart from each other. That's sort of another way to sort of best contain the virus. And that's what I think is going to happen at Disneyland, because obviously there's a whole bunch of lines at Disneyland. There's definitely no shortage of that. But when you have people sort of bunched together in line, that's obviously not a very safe situation in a time like this. So what they'll do is sort of have those designated sections for each guest, or sort of like a family or something like that. One zone for a family, then 6 feet apart, then that's another zone for a family, then 6 feet apart, another zone for a family, etc., etc., etc. Obviously they're going to need a whole lot of room just because there's a whole lot of people trying to go on rides and stuff like that. But with the idea I suggested at number 4 to sort of limit the amount of rides at the park that a guest can go on, that would sort of help with this situation, sort of containing the amount of sort of touching people are doing while still trying to have a good time at the park. And at number one, my final prediction / suggestion is that Disneyland is going to significantly limit the capacity for each park in terms of the guests that can enter. You can imagine after all this time, people being cooped up at their homes, once Disneyland opens back up, it's going to be a mad dash to get into Disneyland. The problem is that that means the park would be super crowded. And obviously that's not a very safe situation, even if this is 2 months down the line in June. So the suggestion here is that you're just going to, Disneyland is going to have to limit the capacity, each park's capacity in terms of the guests for both Disneyland and California Adventure, because otherwise it's just going to be way too crowded, people trying to go in and trying to have a good time. And all the suggestions I sort of pointed out, like sort of limiting the amount of rides that guests can go on, sort of controlling the lines, or controlling the amount of guests that can see the shows by only having one viewing, all that really hinges on sort of park capacity. And if you have a park that's too overflooded, then it's just going to be mad chaos. And obviously if someone does have the virus, which there is the potential in June, then having a park full of people at its max capacity, something during like holiday season time, that obviously would not be very safe. So the park capacity, I would suggest, has to be limited to probably about 50%, but even that might be too high. But I would say 50% is definitely should be sort of the max in terms of when things first open, and then as the months go by, they can slowly lift it until it gets to sort of a safe place. So that would be my final suggestion, limiting park capacity. So there you have it with my ideas, suggestions / predictions for Disneyland when it does open back up, which, like I said, I'm guessing is going to be in about June, mid-June, let's say June 14th. To do a quick rundown of the stuff that I said, number 5, they're going to sort of require guests to still wear masks when entering the park. And number 4, they're going to limit the amount of rides that guests can go on per day to about 5. 3, they're going to limit the amount of times the show plays during the day. So they're going to have only, let's say, like one viewing of Fantasmic or World of Color. 2, they're going to have strict social distancing and lines for rides, sort of keep people spaced apart and not together. And at number 1, the most important, they're going to significantly limit the park capacity in terms of how many people can enter. And yeah, doing all these things will definitely keep people safe as they try to ease people back into the park and the world tries to get back to normal. Obviously, it's been a very sort of trying the last few weeks, and sort of more weeks to come. And it's just like, God damn it. But as much as sort of me and sort of my poor kid want to get back to work at sort of Galaxy's Edge, we also got to be careful and follow sort of rules once things open back up. Otherwise, sort of there's going to be another spike and we'll be right back where we started in terms of the virus spreading again. And it's going to be like, God damn it, this shit again. So if we follow sort of strict rules in terms of the whole world, and obviously I'm talking about Disneyland right here, in terms of sort of keeping people spread apart and being safe, then the world can sort of slowly but surely get back to normal. We can sort of forget this sort of really sort of dreadful year. 2020 has just been a poop fest right there. Just not good at all for a lot of reasons. But there you go with my Disneyland topic right there. So there you go with this Disneyland topic. Hope you all enjoyed. Leave sort of and if you got any suggestions, leave them in terms of stuff to keep people safe when they enter back into Disneyland. And thank you for watching.